today. My name is Dwayne Trujillo from Corwin, and today's webinar we are proud to present Jared Covili's Going Google. Jared will demonstrate how Google is more than a search engine and offers many tools that give people the opportunity to learn and work virtually from anywhere at any time. As well, on the next slide, we are proud to be offering a discount on Jared's book. So if you use this promo code D12AJ6, you will get a 15% discount on his book. The discount is good through October 31st, so please visit Corwin.com at www.corwin.com and receive that 15% discount on Jared's book, which is Going Google. We are very excited to have Jared today. Jared comes to us with a tremendous amount of experience. He is a professional development trainer at the Utah Education Network in Salt Lake City. Jared specializes in teaching strategies for classroom integration of technology such as web page design, geospatial learning, Web 2.0 tools, and digital services. So please, everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Jared Covili.
Well, thank you, Dwayne. It's nice to be here with everyone today. Good to have you come to us from around the country. Today we're going to be doing a little presentation where we talk to you about how you can use Google tools as part of your classroom, whether you're an elementary school teacher or all the way up through college teacher. We've got some great tools to share with you. And during this hour, I hope that as we share some of these ideas, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat room, and we'll be able to talk about those as we get towards the end of our presentation. So as we think about Google, most of us have used Google for a long time. It's the #1 search engine in the world, and most of us have a lot of different ideas about how we can use Google effectively with students. Today I want to share with you 10 tips that hopefully will give you some new ideas of things that you can do and have your students do to help them engage in 21st century learning skills. One of the things that I did spent a lot of time researching was how these tools can help students work on things like communication and collaboration, critical thinking and problem solving, and creativity and innovation. So hopefully we'll share with you some ideas that you can take back into your classroom tomorrow as things that you want to try with your students. One of the first things that we want to do is I want to share with you an idea about using Google Drive. So let's hop into Google Drive, and I'm going to share with you an idea using that. Most of you maybe know Google Drive as Google Docs. A couple of months ago, Google changed the name of the tool from Docs to Drive to kind of illustrate that this tool lets you do more than just work on word processing documents. It actually allows you to do several things in here. I want to share one with you right now. I've got a little questionnaire that I'm going to post to the screen that I want to get your feedback on. The question is, who's in our webinar today? So I want to know what part of the country you folks are coming to us from, and maybe a little bit about your job and what grade level you work with. Now, this can be a challenge for us. So if you've got another device that you can use, or if you want to open up another window in your browser, I'm going to have you actually participate in this portion of our workshop. But notice up here at the top of my screen, I have a web address that's really long and kind of scary. That's certainly not something that I would want all of you to try and type in a browser. So what I'm going to show you is the first little tip that I've got. It's a web address that Google gives us that helps us shorten these really long, scary addresses. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that web address, and then I'm going to open up a new browser window and go to a website called Goo.gl, or Google, spelled a little differently, but a really effective tool for us. So look what I'm doing here. I'm taking that really long web address and I'm pasting that into the window here. And when I click Shorten URL, it takes that big, long, scary address and it turns it into something quite a bit shorter. If you have another browser window open and you'd like to try this, you can go ahead and write down this web address. It's goo.gl and then a /9. You can see it's capitalized CY, lowercase h, and a capital S. If you click on that link, it will take you to our Google Doc or our Google form where you can actually participate in a little survey that we're doing. This is a great tool for you to use in your classroom. A good way for you to get feedback from students so that you can ask them questions about different things that maybe you have going on in your curriculum. You want to get some feedback from the students. Maybe this is a way that you want to get parents involved and you want to ask them questions about how they can participate in your class. This tool is, again, part of just having a Google account and going into the Google Drive tool. Let's take a look, though, as you guys are going through and filling this out just a little bit. Hopefully you've written this down if you haven't gone there yet. goo.gl, and then again /9, capital C, capital Y, lowercase h, or capital S. And I want to show you what's happening on the back end of this as people are filling out this form. So you can see that a few people have already gone in and started to fill in questions as part of our form. And this is just a spreadsheet. When you create a Google form on the back end, what happens is that data gets brought back to me in the form of a spreadsheet. I want to be able to see quickly kind of a snapshot of what we look like as a class or as people in this webinar. One of the neat things that you can do in a Google form is on the back end, you can take this spreadsheet and I can actually have Google Docs go through and provide me with the data in kind of a visual format. Let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm here in my spreadsheet. I'm going to go into a menu called the Form menu. When I click on that drop-down, you can see that the fifth option from the top says Show Summary of Responses. And look what happens when I do this. It opens up a new little window, and it quickly gives me a visual representation of the folks that are here that supplied their answers to our questions. So very quickly I can see what part of the country a lot of folks are from. We've got people mostly from the western U.S. And we've got a lot of teachers here. And you can see different grade levels that they teach. We've got some from all different levels. And most of you are pretty excited about using Google in your classroom. That's a quick way for me to get that kind of feedback and share that with my audience, whether it's parents or students. If you're an administrator, you could even use this to get feedback from your teachers, right? So that's a quick and easy way that you can use a new part of Google Docs that maybe you haven't seen before, which is a Google form. If you've never seen how to create one of those, I'll just give you a quick view on how I got that form created. When I go into Google Drive, there's two buttons on the top left corner of my screen. One says Create. And when I click that Create button, the fourth option from the top lets me create a form. And a form just is simply a series of questions that I want to ask, that I want to get survey data from other people. Now, teachers are really interested in using this Google form. As I've done presentations and talked to teachers around the country, they're really excited about this idea of collecting data and using that to inform their teaching practice. But one of the big questions I always get is there any way that we can take that form and turn it into more of an assessment tool, almost like a quiz? And I want to show you a neat little way that you can do this. I've created a little quiz for you guys. As it's getting near Halloween time, I've created just a little simple 4-question quiz about Halloween. Now, just like before, I'm going to pull up that goo.gl, and I want to share this with you guys if you want to take a second to answer a couple of the questions. So I'm just going to open up my little goo.gl and do that same thing that I just did a moment ago and create a shortened web address for my quiz. So if you want to help me, I want to show you how you can take the answers from this 4-little-question quiz, and I'm going to have Google Docs actually go through and grade this and provide students with their answers and show them how they did on the quiz. So if you want to participate in this with us, you can see I've just opened up a web address for you. It's goo.gl/5 capital S lowercase e, lowercase s, and the number 4. So again, you can kind of see it up there in the top right side of my screen right now. goo.gl/5 capital S, lowercase e, lowercase s, and the number 4. This is just a pretty simple quiz that deals with Halloween. I'm going to go through and answer the questions myself just for a moment. You can see I'm putting in my email address and my name. Halloween is also known as All Hallows. Is that true or false? Well, we're going to say that's true. Which of the following is not a horror movie character? Oh my gosh. We've got Freddy, Jason, Chucky, and I don't know who Ronnie is, so we're going to say that he's the character we're not sure of. Trick or treat became a tradition in America during which decade? We can see we've got a few decades to pick from. I'm going to pick the top one there. And then last, trick or treating originally came from Scotland and Ireland, and that is also true. So I'm submitting my answers on this quiz. You can see it gives us a little recognition that we've done our responses. On the back end here, I can see that several of you have already answered the questions as well. Now, here's the fun part. I don't want to have to go through and evaluate each one of your responses to see whether or not you answered the questions correctly. Rather, what I want to do is I want to let Google Docs do this for me. One of the menus in the Google spreadsheet that I'm in right now is the Insert menu. If I click on that menu and go all the way to the bottom, you'll find an option called a script. Now, I don't want to get too technical on you or sound, too tech nerd here, but a script is just a small program that someone's designed that does a specific job. In this instance, the script that we want to run will actually go through and evaluate that quiz and grade it for us. Here's the word I want you to write down. It's the name of the script. It's called Flubaroo. Okay, and that script has a specific job. It's going to go through and evaluate our quiz. You can see it's a tool that will grade and analyze those assignments. In order for it to work, you have to install it. So it just takes a second for me to do that. Once that's installed, it'll actually ask me if I want to have it go through and evaluate those answers to those questions that we just did. So you can see it'll just take a second for that to happen, and then we should be in a position where we can authorize it. Okay. I'm going to close it now. And let's see. Okay, so here we go. We're back into our spreadsheet, and look down here on the far right side of our menus. We now have a Flubaroo menu here. If I click on that, it asks me if I want to grade the assignment, which I do, right? So I'm going to click grade the assignment. Flubaroo will open up, and it will look through the questions that I've asked and have me identify how many points each one of those questions is worth. You can see that we can drop that down and we can pick a different level of points. If there's a question that you want to grade yourself, you can actually skip it. Might be a good idea to do that on things like short answers or essay questions. As you can imagine, if the student answer isn't exactly the same as the answers that I provide in my answer key, they would miss that question. So shorter answers or longer answers might pose a problem. But let's just give each of these a point. I'm going to click continue now. And Flubaroo is just going through and evaluating what I've told it to do here. Give each question a point value. The next thing that it does is it wants to know which of the answer key, which of the responses is going to serve as our answer key. And you can tell that's probably why I went in and answered the questions myself, is I provided that key. So now I've got mine selected. Let's go through and continue with what we're doing. And Flubaroo is just going through, and it's actually evaluating each one of your answers against our answer key. You can see what it's done is it's put up, it's given us our final option here. Let's take a look and see what happened. So we can see how each one of us did on that quiz. Now, as the instructor, I get a couple pieces of information that are useful here. Notice that one of these questions is kind of highlighted in orange. That's telling me that that question, as a class, we didn't perform up to grade level. So we need to talk a little bit more about the history of trick-or-treating. But if you have a question that the students perform less than, I think it's 70%, you'll get a highlight. So as the teacher, you know that you need to spend a little bit more time on that. So I get kind of that snapshot of how we did as a class. But the last thing I want to share with you is you can actually let the students see how they did individually. If we go back up into Flubaroo here, the second option down allows me to email out the grades. So that's one of the big tricks in using this if you want to do this as an assessment with your students is you can have the kids, you have to have the students put in an email address so they can get their results. But I'll just select that I want to include an answer key, and as I continue, each one of you, when you go check a little bit later, you'll see that you now have your particular quiz and your results in your email. Great tool for you guys. If you've never used this before, again, it's a nice little option for you. A couple things that you need to be aware of how to do is, first, you need to be able to create a Google form, kind of like I showed you, that you go through and create your questions. Generally speaking, the questions work best when they're short, they're true, false, or multiple choice questions. And after that, you have the students take the quiz online, and then you can use Blueberry to go through and assess your quiz. That's a tool that I've really liked, and one that I've found a lot of teachers using. One of the things that I would recommend, though, as you use a tool like this, is you wouldn't really use this for a kind of a final grade or a final assessment. More so, you'd probably be using this as a way that you could have the students kind of do a pre-evaluation, a pre-test where you can get a sense of how they're performing before you actually take the actual test. Okay, well, let's move into another tool that a lot of us are using now. One of the tools that we talk about in the book is using Google Calendar. And some of you may say, well, I've never used Google Calendar before, so let me just explain a little bit about what it is. Google Calendar is an online calendaring tool that you can use to schedule events, and then you can share them with parents and students. So here's an example. This is my
Okay, it looks like we may have hit some technical difficulties here. In the meantime, why don't you send some questions via the chat? If you
I think I'm back, Stephanie.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, folks. One of the tricks when you're doing these online presentations, sometimes we are using a little bit more of the bandwidth, so we sometimes get knocked out. But hopefully you can hear me again and you can see my screen. So we should be in good shape now. Okay, well, let's jump back in here for a moment. Google Calendar, one of the things that I really like about this tool is it gives you the ability to share with all of your parents and students the information that's important for them to know. Easy to use. As I come in, I can click on a specific date and create an event. Let's say tomorrow we've got a big test in our class. So I'm going to click on tomorrow's date, and I'm going to create an event. So I'll say this is we'll put in that this is our big test, right? As I create that event, you can see that it shows up in my calendar. Now, one thing that I'm going to make as a suggestion for you, just putting in the word test. How many times do you have where students go home and mom and dad ask them if they have anything coming up, in the short term, and they say, well, I don't have anything due. There's nothing going on. And you know that you're, give me just a quick check. Is everyone able to see my screen again, Stephanie?
No, I think we lost you at the calendar.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I'll share my desktop one more time. Can you see it now, folks?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. So I've just created my my test event here. Now, like I said a moment ago, mom and dad, they get home and they ask their son or daughter if there's anything going on tomorrow in school, and of course they say no. But you as the teacher, you've given them a great option. You put your class calendar online so that they can take a look at it. So now that you can see the calendar, let me just show you a nice little trick to help mom and dad help their student perform better in your class. When we put in this event for a test, I'm going to click on that again. And this time I'm going to go in and edit the event. And I want to share with you a nice little option for you here in Google Calendar. If I'm a parent that just sees that there's a test tomorrow and I ask my son or daughter, well, what's the test on? A lot of times they come back with, I don't know. So rather than follow that lead, I'm going to go through and as a teacher, I'm going to help mom and dad prepare their student. When you click in a calendar event here, one of the options as you kind of scroll down the event is the ability to add an attachment. And I want you to see what you can do with this.
Okay, folks, well, we seem to have
I'm
lost them again.
I'm back.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I really
let me
apologize.
make sure I've gotten the right, need to give the right presenter.
Okay.
Let's do this again. Great.
You can see my screen again. I apologize
Yep.
about that. So I'm going to go back in now and I'm going to add this attachment. An attachment for a test might be something like my test prep, right? The handout that I provided for the students when we were going through this in class. So I want to share with mom and dad that same handout. And here in the calendar, I can just click on Add Attachment, and you can see that it will let me, first it will go to my Google Docs and want me to add any of those handouts. Additionally, though, I can upload files right from my computer. So if I don't have a handout specifically in my Google Docs, but I have it as a Microsoft Word handout on my computer, very easy for me to go and put that as an attachment in my calendar. I'm just going to add this as an example, just a little form that I've got. You can see it just puts that right into that calendar event. And when I save that, now anyone that comes and clicks on my calendar, they have access to not only the event but the handout as well. Now, some of you in the room may be saying, well, I've never used Google Calendar and I don't know how you share that calendar with other people. When you create a calendar, one of the tricks is that you go into the settings for that calendar and it gives you the opportunity to, let's just show you here. If I go into my calendar, it gives me the web link where I can share that with mom and dad. So I could email that out and then mom and dad have access to my calendar. Another neat thing that you can do is you can actually put that onto your website if you have a classroom website. And then it's very easy for mom and dad to be able to access the calendar from their computers. Now, one thing that I've seen a lot of schools doing lately is when they put that calendar on their school website. Let me show you a nice little feature that they can do with this. I'm going to go out to a school here in Utah. This is Harriman High School, and I want to show you how they're using their Google Calendar. So if I go to their home page here, you can see that right on their home page, there's their Google Calendar. They just embedded it on their website. So parents and students can come here every day and see what events are coming up. Here's a neat feature, though, that maybe you haven't seen before. If you go down to the bottom right corner of their Google Calendar, there's a little plus button right here that says Add this Google Calendar. So if a parent comes here one time and clicks on that button, let me show you what that does. It comes back in and it says, do you want to have Harriman High School's calendar as part of your Google Calendar environment? If I say yes, I want to add that. Look what just showed up. I'm going to turn off a few of these other calendars so you can see it. Those are all of the events from Harriman High School showing up on my calendar. So that means as a parent, I know very quickly when things are coming up, like football games or Halloween dances, things that my student might be involved with. That's a huge time saver for me as a parent to come in and be able to see those things show up on my personal calendar. And you can turn those things on and off just by clicking on the name of the calendar over in the menus. You can see I'm able to toggle those things on and off. But such a useful feature for us just to have the ability to have parents subscribe to a web calendar that we make that gives them some of those choices. Okay, let's look at a couple other ideas here. One thing that I want to share with you as we talk about communicating and helping us communicate better with parents and students. There's a neat little tool in Google that maybe you haven't heard of yet. It's called Google Voice. So it's voice.google.com. If you've never seen this before, it's an interesting little idea that you can use as a communication tool. I've just been sharing with you how you can communicate with a calendar. But one of the big things that a lot of parents and students want to be able to do is they want to be able to communicate with you directly. Now, none of us would want to give out our cell phone numbers to parents and students. That just kind of blurs those boundaries of kind of our personal and our professional lives. But a lot of times we'd like to have a way that we can communicate with parents and students in a way that's more useful for them. Let me share with you what this Google Voice does. When you first log into this website, Google actually allows you to create your own phone number using your computer rather than an actual phone to make the phone calls. So if one of you wants to try this, you can call my Google Voice number. You can see it right there. It's 801-448-7279. If any of you want to call that and leave me a message, I want to show you what happens when those messages get left. Right now, I'll just use one that I've already got. The first thing that happens is, so someone calls your phone number. This actually doesn't have to ring a physical phone, whether it's a cell phone or a landline. It can just simply come here to the website and record a message. So notice what it's doing here. It's transcribing the message that Mindy left for me. She's saying, she uses this all the time. In addition to the transcription, you can see that I have a play button that I can play this message. I would play it for you. Unfortunately, it won't play through the web environment that we're in right now because we're in a webinar. But if I click on that, I can actually hear her message. Look at what my options, though, are. So let's say Mindy's a parent. She's just left me a message. I have two choices as how I can respond to her. I can click on the call button, and it will actually place a phone call through my computer or through a phone if I want it to. Or the second option here is I can send her a text. If I select that, I can give her a quick message, and I can send that as a text message to her. That happens without any phone of mine being involved. You can see that happen just through my computer. What a great way for students that need to get in touch, with me as maybe a club advisor or there's an activity coming up, and I just need to be able to communicate a quick idea with them. Again, this doesn't ever show my personal phone number. The only number that shows up is my Google Voice number. So that's a way that you can quickly communicate with parents without giving away personal contact information. I want to share an example of a teacher that I met last week in Memphis, who's a Spanish teacher at a local high school there. He was sharing with me that one of the ways that he uses his Google Voice is he gives that number out as a way that his students can actually call or text him with some of their Spanish translation homework. So you can see here's a student that sent him a text that put in the Spanish translations that they were supposed to do for homework. So he can receive that and he can give them their score on that. Additionally, though, one of the cool things that he can do with this is not only have the students text him, but they can call him and do, their recitations in Spanish, so they can tell him some of the different things that they need to share, so they can prove that they know what they're talking about. Google Voice is a great little tool for you to use as a communication tool. We have a question out there. Do you mind reading that question for me, Stephanie? Or Patricia, if you have a question? Maybe she did that accidentally. We'll come back to that in a minute.
Patricia, I've unmuted you if you wanted to ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
I was just wondering, I see your credit down there for 10 cents. Is this a for-fee feature?
No, this is actually a free feature. The credits, this is for domestic calls. So if you were trying to use this internationally, they do have a charge associated with it. But for local domestic calls, and not just local, all domestic calls across the U.S., you can do this for free. So great question. Thanks for asking that.
Okay, thank you.
One last thing I wanted to share with you in using this, one of the ways that I've used this quite a bit is from time to time I have to conduct interviews with different people who aren't local to me. And I always want a way that I can record those conversations using just my phone instead of having to set up some different tools to use this. When you make calls through your Google Voice, let me show you under this More option. One of the options that I have down here is as I carry on conversations or get messages from people, I can actually download those as MP3 files, which allows me to save that. So I can save messages, or like I say, if I conduct an interview, I can actually record the entire interview where me and the other party are talking, and I can save that as an MP3 file. That is a wonderful option for you as a way to have some multimedia, using it as an interview tool. And it works just great. If you've never tried this one before, I think you'll really like it. One last feature I should mention that's not necessarily classroom related, but that I think a lot of people like. When you use Google Voice, if you have a smartphone, so if you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you can actually get the Google Voice app, and it will allow you to make phone calls using the app where you're not using cell minutes, rather you're using data minutes, and so it actually saves you a bunch of cell minutes. I took my phone and totally took off most of my cell minute plan because I didn't need it, because I was making calls over the internet at that point. So if you've never seen that one before, really neat little feature that is totally free to you, other than if you're going to make international calls. Okay. Let's look at another feature that maybe you haven't seen before in using Google. One of the features that came out last year from Google is a brand new website called Google+. And I don't know if you've ever seen this one before. Google for years has been trying to have an alternative to Facebook as a way that you can communicate and share kind of different events that are more social in nature. Teachers want to use this as well, though, as a way that they can keep students up to date on different things going on in class. Well, let's share an idea for using this Hangout, for using this Google Plus account. One of the features here in Google Plus is called a Hangout. I'm going to click on this so you can see it. And a Hangout is actually kind of like a web conference, similar to what we're doing right now, except it's more of a video web conference. And I'm guessing a lot of you have probably used a program called Skype if you wanted to do a video conference call with friends and family who live around the country or around the world. But Skype has a couple limitations. One of the things about Skype is that you can only contact one person if you want to do it for free. If you want to contact more than one person, you actually have to pay for a premium account. Now with Google Hangouts, we can put ourselves and up to 9 other people in a Hangout at one time. This allows us to have group discussions with people from different parts of the country. It allows us to bring in guest speakers for the content that we're studying. It also allows us to have the students maybe create study groups from home where they can get together with their colleagues, and their friends, and they can use this as a tool where they can create a little small study group. Let's show you how this works just a little bit here. When I go into Google Plus and I go down to Hangouts, you can see that there's a nice big button here that says Start a Hangout. We're going to give this a try, see if this will work for us right now. When I click on Start a Hangout, it opens up a new window, and this is kind of that web, video room that we're looking at here. It's showing me right now that I have a few colleagues that are currently online. This shows them as having a green dot. There I am down at the bottom. Hello, everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and add a couple of these folks to a potential video conference. A couple other features that I want to share with you here. You can name your Hangouts, so if you do multiple Hangouts, it's a great way to keep track of them. But what I want to do right now is I want to show you this last little checkbox here. It says Enable Hangouts on Air. This will actually take our Hangout and it will record it so that we could use it again later as maybe a demo or something for students that missed class, so we could check that box. You can see here what will happen with this is it will send it to my YouTube channel. So if I name this, Corwin, now I could send this to my YouTube channel as something that's recorded for later. So I'm going to say OK, and we'll click the Hangout button. We'll cross our fingers. We've had a few technical glitches, right? So we'll see if we can make this work a little bit today. So there I am, nice and big. Hi, everybody. I can see Patricia up there in the corner. It's nice to see you up there. So here come a few colleagues in this Hangout. So as my colleagues see the Hangout invitation, if they accept it, you can see that they just kind of slide in, and now they're participating in the Hangout. I don't know, Mindy, can we actually hear you? Okay.
Yeah, you can hear me now, I think. Well, I think I'm still there. But I don't know if everybody can still hear me while Jared.
Well, we're gonna escape from Google Plus for just a minute. You can imagine in a web environment like this, we're running a little bit of a risk when we try and have video sharing at the same time that we're doing that live. I'm going to just close this if that's okay with you guys. But I want to share an example of how a teacher in the Utah area used this. One of my friends is a marketing teacher at a local high school. And a program, he likes to use television programs to help teach concepts in his class. One of the programs that he was using was called the Shark Tank. I don't know if any of you have seen this program, but basically it's 5 multimillionaires who are looking to invest in companies. And Jeff, he wants to use this program as a way that his students can learn about, marketing strategies of how to be successful and how to brand their products and how to do these things. Well, one day, Jeff got the idea that he wanted to contact. Let me just open this up real quick. Sorry, I've got a little screen here. It's getting in my way. He wanted to contact one of the characters on the show, one of the entrepreneurs. And so he sent out a message. I'm just going to pull it up here so you can see it. I'm going to do a quick YouTube search just so you can see here. There we go. There's Damon John Google Hangout. So Damon is one of the characters, is one of the actors on. Oh, and of course we're not going to be able to see it. That's okay. Damon's one of the participants in the Shark Tank, and what he did is he did a Google Hangout with Jeff in his class. So as you can read here, thousands of high school students were invited to participate in this because it wasn't just, I'm not going to show the advertisement, but it wasn't just Damon coming in and talking to Jeff's class. Jeff invited students from 5 or 6 high schools from around the country. And they all participated in this Google Hangout. And it was a great way for them to all learn from each other as well as to learn from Damon. Apologies, I can't share it a little bit better with you, but you can kind of see that that's what you could do with that. Okay, folks, we've got about 10 to 15 minutes left. I want to give you a couple other ideas of things that you can do with your students. When we started talking today, we mentioned that Google is more than just a search engine. But one of the big things that we can do with our students to help them is understand how to use search maybe a little bit more effectively. One of the tools that Google's released in their browser called Google Chrome is the ability to do voice search. On my screen you can see that I'm in the Google homepage and I have just a search box open. But notice over here on the right-hand side of that search box that I have a little microphone. I want you to see how Google is trying to revolutionize helping students use Google search. Let's just show you an example. I'm going to click on the microphone. Common Core. And you can see what Google does now. It actually allows me to do voice searches for topics that I'm looking for. And you can see how it pulls up very quickly the things that I'm looking for. There's a great video that Google shares where there's a student with a learning disability and it's very hard for her to type. But she can use voice search and it really helps her comprehend and find the information that she's looking for. Let me share one more idea though with this as we get in and do a search. One of the challenges that we find for a lot of teachers, especially when they're teaching elementary school students, is that the kids can't often, the information that comes back in these Google searches is a little bit beyond their level. You know, Google's really good at finding information and bringing it in the search. It's not as good at determining whether something is appropriate for a student. But I want to show you a little feature that maybe some of you have missed that can help you and your students get better use of the results that come back from a Google search. One of the options that you have when you conduct a search is over in the top right-hand corner of your screen. You have the settings button. It's called, you can see it up here, it looks kind of like a little gear. If I click that, one of the options in Google search is to do an advanced search. Now, a lot of us in the past have done some of these kinds of tricks, but it's kind of gotten we've kind of gotten out of habit because it's been a long time since a lot of us have used something like an advanced search. Well, one of the things that I can do here when I conduct my search is if I scroll down my page slightly here in this advanced search, look at one of the options that I have. About halfway down the screen, I have the ability to adjust the reading level. So if I'm dealing with students that are on a fairly low reading level, I can select this and drop this down. And one of my options here is to show only basic results. So rather than overwhelming students with results that may be a little bit beyond them, you can see here that I can filter those, and now I can bring back and look at the more basic results, kind of move their way up to the top of the list, rather than just being put into the list wherever they show up. So a nice little trick for you as you have your students do research is you can have them filter the results based upon their reading level. And it's not all, you know, it's not a perfect system, you know, based on Lexile scores, but you can see that it does give me at least a nice filter where it can go through and do a little of that. Let me share one more search trick with you while I'm here that comes into, that you can find in the advanced search option. I want to search for geometry. You know, I'm just doing a little search. I'm going to teach a lesson tomorrow on geometry. And I'm not going to filter the reading levels, but one of the things that you know about the web is as you do searches online, you usually come back with web addresses, right? It takes you to different websites. But sometimes you're looking for content that isn't necessarily a website. You want to find a PowerPoint, or you want to find maybe a spreadsheet that's online. When you go into the advanced search option here in Google, you can go down to file type, and you can actually search for specific types of files rather than websites. So you can see here I could find a PowerPoint about geometry, or I can find PDFs that contain information about geometry. The one I want to share with you that I think is kind of fun is if you go all the way to the bottom of this file type list, you can click on Shockwave Flash. You say, well, what's a Shockwave Flash file? It typically is interactive video or games. And you can see that helps me come up with a list of different activities. Now, I'm not going to click on one of these just because I'm a little worried about crashing the computer again through the webinar, but you can see that this will actually, if I click on this, it will take me to an online interactive that will help me teach my students about coordinate geometry. But it also does one more thing for me. Because I searched for this website that has this particular game, it's got other content on it. Look, it's got all kinds of different activities that are listed here. So I've done two things by just doing an advanced search. I found an activity that I could use potentially tomorrow, but I've also found myself a great resource where I could come later and find more content as I go throughout the school year. That's a great tool for you guys to do an advanced search and be able to use that to find specific files or specific types of content. Let's show one more little trick that you have here that I think is really useful in searching. You know, a lot of us when we come into Google, we're going to do a search. We want to find a picture of something like, say, the Grand Canyon. Okay, so I come in and I type in Grand Canyon, and you immediately go to image search because you want to be able to find images of the Grand Canyon. But I want to find out a little bit more about, a particular image. Let's say I find this image, and I'd really like to know a little bit more about it. So notice what I can do here. I'm going to click on that image, but instead of just going and finding out more information by, following the link here, watch what I can do. If I left-click on this image, I can actually drag that image right up to my search box, and it will conduct a search based on that image. It finds where it's at online, gives me related images, tells me where it came from on the web. I mean, that's such a neat tool for me to be able to use to search visually, not just through text. The other cool thing about this is you can do this not only with images that you find on the internet, but you can also do it with images that you have on your computer. Let me share an example here. If I go in and grab a picture, I think I've got a picture in one of these folders here. Okay, so there's a little picture of me. I'm just going to open this up in the Finder. This is, I think, the picture that Dwayne had that he used earlier today. But watch, I can take this right off of my computer and also drag it into the search box. And look what it will do. It'll conduct that same search using that file that I have on my computer. So you can see it's uploading it. It just takes a few seconds for that to happen. And then it will find that image online and do the search based upon that image as well. It looks like it's just about done. Hopefully it's going to happen. Like I say, sometimes when we're doing this in a webinar, the internet does this a little differently, but you can see the process. It takes that file, it uploads it, and then the results that I see down below, it looks like it's having a little bit of a problem right now, so I'll just escape that one. But that will work for you. You can actually drag an image into your search box and have it conduct the search right from the image that you use. If you've never seen that before, really nice tool for you. In the last couple of minutes that I have, I want to share one last little idea for you. Google Earth is a program that a lot of us have used. I know that a lot of us like the idea of being able to look at the world visually and see, kind of help the students visualize what some of your content as you share with them ideas and places from around the world. One of the neat things that you can do in Google Earth that maybe you've never seen before is when you search for a location, you can actually create a virtual tour of that location, or in the case of a student, they could do a virtual tour taking you to places around the world to teach a concept. A friend of mine is a geography teacher, and he has his students do country reports. And I know a traditional way that a lot of country reports is done is to have kids kind of create a PowerPoint and go through and teach us about, the location. But my friend wanted to do something a little different. He had his students create a virtual tour here in Google Earth. Let's see if we can see this. So one of the students was doing their presentation on New Zealand. And so we're going to fly over here to New Zealand. If you know much about New Zealand, one of the big national pastimes is rugby. And let's see if this is going to work here. But with the idea of rugby, you can see that he's created a little, almost like a virtual stop on the map. Let me just close this so you can see what's happening. We're flying here to New Zealand where the rugby is taking place. This is at the New Zealand National Rugby Stadium. Okay, so we fly over there, and if I click on this little marker that he's created, it opens up that window where we can get more information about that event. Again, I'm not going to tempt fate here, but you can actually play these videos. These come to us from YouTube, and you can see how you can take that video content and put it right here into what's called a place mark that you make to mark a location. Now, that seems really complicated. I want to show you just how easy that is to do. Even though I don't really have a specific purpose for this, let's show you. To create a location, you just come and you click on the yellow push pin that's up in the menu bar at the top of your screen. You can see that opens up a window and puts a place mark on the screen. So let's say I wanted to mark this location as something that was important in New Zealand. So we'll put in our title. We'll call this, New Zealand. Okay. And then we could put in our content here. We could type text. Okay, so we'll type a little bit of text here. But we saw that my friend, he had his students put in video from YouTube. And I wanted you just to see how easy that is to do. I'm going to go back to YouTube for just a second and show you an example of this. Here's the Corwin website, and here's just a normal video in YouTube. One of the things that you'll find on every YouTube video is the option to share the video. When you click on share, whoops, let me do it one more time. I think it's hiding behind my screen. Just give me 1 second. Here it comes. When you click on share, it pulls up a little window, and it gives us a link, but it also gives us a button that says embed, meaning take this video and put it someplace else. So if I select that option now, look what I've got here. I've got a little bit of code that I can copy and come back into Google Earth, and I can just paste that right into this little box. And when I say OK, watch what it does. Now when I click on that push pin, the video shows up inside that Google Earth bubble. You can do that for places around the world. It doesn't have to just be a history or a social studies lesson. You could use this for language arts, for math, for science. A great tool for you to have the students go through and illustrate concepts that they're learning using locations on the globe as kind of the visual representation of that. I think it's a great little tool for you, and one I hope you take a little bit of time to look at. You know, I know most of us, when we talk about Google Earth, we've looked at our house, we've done something like that, but what a great curriculum-based tool for us to use to help us teach our students a little bit more about, you know, places and concepts using the real world as our example. Well, folks, I think we're just about out of time. I want to come back and see if there are any questions that any of you have specifically that I can help answer, or if Stephanie's seen anything that has come up in the chat room.
If you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you, or if you want to message me or the whole group, I can read it out loud for you. And if you don't know where the chat is, you'll see where this section that says Viewing Jared's Desktop. If you scroll up to that at the very top, you'll see something drop down that says Chat, and you can chat in the chat room.
Jared, what a wonderful job. Let's see if people have any questions, which I would be certain that they would. That's great about the photos and the Google shirts. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, there are lots of little tricks that if you haven't seen before. I apologize that we had to go fairly quickly because we only have an hour, but some great tools for you to use, and hopefully you've seen something that you want to try in class next week.
Yeah, I think it's a good start for everyone to, I'm sure it's piqued everyone's interest, so they're a good starting point for them to go into Google, and hopefully they learned a lot today from this.
I don't see any additional questions right now.
I don't see any questions at this point. So this website will be archived.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you, Dwayne. Patricia does have a question. Let me unmute her for a second. Go ahead, Patricia.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. That was excellent. Really appreciate it, Jared. I guess you guys are going to post again the discount code for the book. And when will I be able to review this again in the archive, or is there a way for me to save it and review it again on my computer, or do I need to go back to you guys in Corwin?
I'll be archiving it fairly soon for you, and I'll be sending you an email as long as you were registered.
Okay.
And
the
Jared,
discount code for the book?
Yeah, Jared, do you want to pull up the slide? And the promo code, with the promo code, you get 15% discount at Corwin.com. And
I wonder if his computer froze.
Yeah, it is.
The promo code, I can tell you, is D12AJ6. That's D12A as in Apple, J as in Jared, and the number 6. And you get a 15% discount, and that's good through Halloween, and that's available for purchase at Corwin.com. Jared's book is Going Google. Jared, are you back up?
I think so. Can you hear me?
No,
Yeah.
I took control of it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the slide.
Yeah,
And
sorry about that.
Stephanie,
My computer crashed right at the wrong time.
and Stephanie, you said you'll be emailing the registrants with the link to the archived webinar?
I will do.
Okay. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We really appreciate your participation. Jared, thank you so much for this insightful webinar. And again, thank you to the registrants. And the book is available for purchase at corwin.com. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, did we survive?
Let me give you guys a call back.